United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you be kind enough to call the roll?
Councilwoman Taylor.
Present.
Councilman Brooks.
Here.
Councilman Taylor Farrell.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Butcher.
Here.
Councilman Jackson. Councilman Green.
I'm here.
And Councilwoman Bowman.
Present.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the Administrative Conference meeting Monday, October 9th, 2023, and the City Council meeting Tuesday, October 10th, 2023?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, let's push the button.
Motion passes with 6.
Does any council member have any awards, recognition, or distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes? Councilman Brooks?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Carla Mutton.
Hello, my name is Carla Bunton. I'm at 2524 Lakeway Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana. I represent Compassion for Lives. You got to think you all a bit familiar with the organization. Established there in 2013. Our goal is to help reduce recidivism. And our mission, you guys, is to improve the lives of the community, those that are incarcerated, ex-offenders, low-income, disadvantaged. We've come to some barriers at Compassion for Lives. I think I had spoken to Mr. Brooks, Ms. Bowman before in reference to the issue, the barrier. And the barrier is housing. I was given 2 houses, one in Bossier, one here in Shreveport, and I was denied by MPC to allow individuals to live in the home because at MPC, the policy is you cannot have transitional living houses, halfway houses, and IMU areas, only in C4 areas, which is fine because that is policy. Yesterday attended was Pastor Nicholson. I'm going to speak on behalf of them. They were not able to come today. Pastor Nicholson and Pastor Costick came yesterday as well because they have a home. They've been doing it for years too, housing those individuals, but now they've been denied by DOC for the same reason. They can no longer house because MPC, they have to have a zoning certification, and that's no longer allowed here in Shreveport. So if you guys didn't know anything, the barrier to anyone successfully reintegrating is a basic need of housing. These men or women have nowhere to go. We try to help them with careers, job placement. We have a GED High-Set program. We go into the Cattle Correction of Bossier Parish Max. We're helping them all we can to reintegrate and been successful until we've met this barrier of no housing. I do understand there's a policy I've been explained to thoroughly by Mr. Clark, Ms. Bowman, explained to me thoroughly why. I'm coming today to ask for suggestions. I was told that council is where I need to come to find out where can they live. I was told that they can live in C4 areas, which are the commercial zone areas. Fortunately, none of us people who are housing, Pastor Quayshawn Nicholson, I think you have another house here, Lee Hartman, you have a lot of houses. And I think they will all be going out in January. They won't be able to house those individuals either. So we're just trying to find out what can we do as a city? Because what I'm finding is a lot of those individuals who leave us, they go to the street. I know you have Shreveport Bossier Rescue Mission. I know that you have Salvation Army. I know about those 2 entities. You do allow sober living houses here in the city of Shreveport. I know you guys are familiar with Oxford House, et cetera. You have those. But a lot of those folks that are reintegrated that doesn't necessarily have a substance abuse issue, so they can't go there. It's disheartening for me to say that I'm servicing and I can't service because if they have nowhere to live, they're really no longer worried about the career, the job, nothing. We're also seeing that it's leading into mental health, okay? A lot of the men that come to us are stressed, depressed with anxiety, and we don't know what to tell them. Although you have mental health agencies all over the city of Shreveport, some of these men don't go there. Some of the women don't go there. So I'm asking, for suggestions from the city of Shreveport to tell me and a lot of others, what do you suggest? I did speak with, I think it was Mr. Clark explained to me as well. He said, Carla, the problem you may have is a lot of folks in the communities probably don't want, these individuals living there. And I understand, I get it. People saying we don't want them there. There was a house in Cherokee Park, and there was some sexual offenders, I think formerly, they were no longer on probation parole. They have to register, they were all registered, and they were subletting the house because they had nowhere to go. They won't give them jobs as garbage men. You're a violent offender, you can't get a garbage man job here in the city of Shreveport. So if they're subletting because they have nowhere to go. So they were in a house subletting, and of course, you have folks who get those registrations, and they panic. You know, these people are living in my neighborhood because they're sexual offenders. There were a lot of older men. The house is well kept, and I was told they were petitioned to be put out. These are some of the same men that you may see out in the community that you may be afraid of, that you may be afraid they're going to cut your head off because they look like they will, because they have nowhere to go. And it's really leading into a mental health crisis. It really is. And they come home, you guys, if you didn't know it, a lot of them are already suffering from mental illness. They were in a crisis prior to incarceration. They go to jail or prison, then they're traumatized there, and then they come home and they're back in that same very crisis. So I'm not here to point fingers. I'm just really here to ask for suggestions from the council. That's where I was supposed to come. I have my licensed clinical social worker. She just want to tap a little bit on the mental health that we're seeing from the individuals that we're servicing. It's a really big issue, and I just thought the city should know about it because at this point, we don't know what to do with the men or women that are going through these mental health crises, okay? This is Vanessa Smith.
Before Ms. Smith speaks, since you specifically brought up Cherokee Park, there was an issue in my area because the house is not zoned for that. And there's no occupational license that the minister applied for, and there were grave concerns with the constituents that lived in that area.
Well, it was not a transitional living house. That's what that zone is. That no zone is for transitional living.
That is
this was
not-
a house.
But with that house, and that person was renting that house out.
Yes.
That house has to be registered with our registry. That was not done.
Okay, we were not told that, Ms. Taylor, Ms.
Yes.
Taylor, but you could have called Pastor Nicholson and explained that to him instead of causing a bigger crisis here in
No,
the
I
city.
was not going to
So
not-
that's what we think
not
you should have
cause
done
a
so we
bigger
can help
crisis
everyone in the
because I don't
community.
represent Pastor Nicholson. I actually represent my constituents. And my constituents had a concern because of the individuals there and the complaints that they made to the sheriff's department as well as to probation and parole, what those individuals were doing because they were concerned for their children.
You have no
So
facts
my
that that was
pro-
happening?
Yes, I do too. I have all of the
Ms.
facts.
Taylor, there are
Ms. Brunson.
152 registered sexual offenders that live in Cherokee
You're not
Park.
going to sit here and tell me that I have to go over here and agree for sexual offenders who do not reside in Caddo Parish. They were from another parish.
You have
that decide to
152
live.
sexual
That's
offenders
right,
that
and
live
they're
in
not
Cherokee
going to-
Park
And if they
that
are
are
coming
registered.
with Cherokee
Per
Park,
Katrina
and I
Cooper.
find those individuals on that registry, you are absolutely correct that I'm going to fight it because I'm going to always be concerned with the children, with the bus stop that the house is right in front of. I'm always going to be concerned from them from tier 1 to tier 3.
I greatly appreciate your concern, Ms. Taylor, but you have 152 sexual offenders that
And
live
since
in
and since-
Cherokee Park.
and
So I
since
suggest that you may want to look at
Since
all
I
of your
know
sexual
that
offenders.
And that it is brought to my attention, that is what Mr. Clark and I are working on. I
Thank you
offer
so
no
much,
apologies
ma'am.
for it.
Thank you so much for looking into that, Ms. Taylor. 152 sexual offenders in that community already.
Good afternoon. My name is Vanessa Smith. I am the co-founder with Compassion for Lives. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I am a licensed professional counselor. I have spent my career in social services. I have worked at the federal level, the state level, the local level, and the nonprofit level. What I'm seeing with this is people talk about mental health awareness, mental health crises. Then we talk about the crime prevention. This month is Mental Health Awareness Month. The best way I can explain this when we say somebody's in a crisis, you have to have your basic needs met. Everybody knows what a child needs. A child needs what? Shelter, food, clothing, attention. When we have ex-offenders getting out, they have no shelter, they have no food, they have nowhere to go. So it puts them back into a crisis, and a lot of times it will make them go back to jail because they have no substantial assistance, no support system. Housing is the biggest barrier. We can assist with mental health, we can assist with job, we can assist with education, but if they can't figure out where they're gonna sleep tonight, what clothes they got on their back, where they're gonna eat, how do they survive? What do they say a lot of times? You do what you gotta do to survive. And a lot of times what people do leads them back to jail. As a clinical social worker, I think it's important that we have a system or something set up to assist these people when they come out at the ground level. Some kind of assistance is needed, especially with housing. And you were talking about housing Ms. Taylor, considering sex offenders, it's a problem in the whole entire state. At one point in time in New Orleans, they had them in a tent city because nobody would make a room for them. We had a recent person return up here because they had him sleeping at the back of the shelter in New Orleans. Housing is a problem, period, in this entire state, especially when it comes to ex-offenders, sex offenders. And one issue that I do realize now that a lot of people don't talk about is how do you deal with female sex offenders? Where do we put those women? Because that's a rising population that nobody cares to discuss. My only issue is I'm worried about a person's mental health. But my main issue is I know that in order for me to help that person mentally, I've got to get them on some kind of stable ground. And housing is the primary issue to help them get on some kind of stable ground, to go ahead and work what they need to work and get back into society and be productive. Thank you.
More than welcome. Do you all expect for me to ignore the concerns of my constituency?
I didn't say that.
But I'm just saying.
No, I do not.
Because what my constituency came here to say what they have, and as their council representative, this is something that DOC, as well as the Sheriff's Department, that has been brought into the city. I am not going to ignore those concerns of my constituency. They were there on Merrick Street, moved out of that house, and then chose a house in Cherokee Park. And then when I've learned of how this system is rolling, then there is a breakdown from the state all the way down to now it becomes the city's problem. And so I'm not going to go over here and debate back and forth when it comes to the safety of those children and the individuals that live there.
Ms. Taylor, I didn't say anything about coming here and questioning you and telling you not to stand up for your constituents. What I came here to tell you from a mental health standpoint, as a clinical social worker and as a licensed professional counselor, is if you want to help people when they get out of jail, you got to help them start somewhere with some stability. What I'm saying is, I don't judge you. You're supposed to do that. That's your district. I'm not
Correct.
questioning on that. What I'm trying to get you all to understand is, when you say mental health awareness is a major issue, crime prevention is an issue, all of it comes back to the basic needs, and you can use it as a child. You need some stability. Everybody knows here on this panel what a child needs when a child is born, right or wrong.
But that's not the sole
No, what I'm
responsibility.
saying is-
That's not the sole responsibility of the city.
I'm not saying it's the sole responsibility of the city. I'm addressing the mental health.
And I understand that part.
Individuals. What I'm saying is, you asked me a question, do I think you should or should not do it? I didn't say you should not.
Correct.
What I'm saying is, I'm just making you all aware of the struggle in working with people who have co-occurring disorders, substance abuse issues, getting out of jail, having no second chance. I work with them from a mental standpoint.
Correct.
And all I'm saying is, there needs to be something where we can help them to get stability. I'm not saying they got to come to Cherokee Park. I'm just saying it's an issue that needs to be addressed at the city, because I early acknowledged it is a problem in the whole entire state.
Correct.
That's all I was saying.
Correct.
Why don't we do this? On yesterday, the chief, the mayor, along with myself, we met at the Community Foundation, and they were doing brainstorming about how do we handle this. So I would suggest that you would talk to the chief and talk to the Community Foundation, because they are looking for ways as to how to solve the problem that you have just asked about, that you all have brought. I don't know if they have funds. I was not able to stay for the entire meeting. It went until 12 o'clock, but the mayor was there. And of course, I don't know what the end of the meeting came to, Mr. Mayor, but they were brainstorming as to what can we do about what you all are talking about. So if you would contact Community Foundation, I believe that that would be one inroad to assisting. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything to add?
No, Mr. Chairman, yesterday was a start, a brainstorming session, and there will end up being a memorandum of understanding with Caddo Council on alcohol and drug abuse, who will be the agent that will be working with people for mental illness.
So if you all would contact Community Foundation, I believe that would be an inroad.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Green.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have something to say too. I'll be glad to work with you also and see what we can do to help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with Councilwoman Taylor. I don't, it's going to be hard for us to not listen to the constituents when that kind of situation comes up. But I also see where y'all are coming from. But I think Mr. Clark said the perfect thing to Ms. Bunton when he said that when the neighbors don't want it. I think this picture's bigger than the Shreveport City Council. I think that, I wish that we could put maybe some type of task force together, because our homeless population is growing by leaps and bounds, and most of them obviously have mental illness. I would like for the council and maybe the mayor's office, and maybe this is what this first step is, to maybe put some type of task force together that studies this and works with the MPC. But it's going to be a real hard sell for me to allow a halfway house that has sex offenders to be next to, that's not zoned for it. But I'm with you. I care. I mean, I know that they need to be rehabilitated, and that's the first step, is to have a place to live. I don't think any of us sitting up here have the answer to that question right now.
Right.
But I think that I appreciate y'all bringing it forward to us, and maybe we can all work together, because we have got to do something about the loitering, the homeless people. It is almost becoming a crisis, and it's hitting every district, including every district sitting up here from MLK to Southern Trace. We have a homeless issue. So I appreciate you bringing it up, and I look forward to the leadership of the mayor and the chairman, and let's try to get something going and work with the MPC to see if we can help.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Butcher.
Thank you.
Any other council member have any awards or recognition of distinguished guests? Mr. Mayor, do you have any awards or recognition of distinguished guests not to exceed 15 minutes?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any other communication related to city business?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for property standards for Mr. Green? Mr. Clark made his master plan report on yesterday. Everyone should have received the budget actual financial report on yesterday. Public hearings, none. Madam Clerk, would there be any legislation added to the agenda today?
Yes, sir. We have Resolution 132, authorizing a one-year contract between the City of Shreveport and the crew of Gemini relative Mardi Gras parades. And Resolution 133 is authorizing a one-year contract between the City of Shreveport and the crew of Centaur.
Are there any questions? And is there a motion to add Resolutions 132, 133 to the agenda? Anyone object to it? Speak now. Not. There's a motion by Councilwoman Bowman,
Second.
second by Councilman Butcher. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Today, we will hear public comments on agenda items only. The vice chair will control the list and the time.
Sammy Mears.
Sammy Mears, 1901 Centenary Boulevard, Apartment M110, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I'm speaking on 9A125. I think this is a great idea on 9A125. If you'll recognize the City Council having reviewed the 2022 Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Report, this would be great. If you'll do that, I know that everyone will be very happy, and I say, go for it!
Monty Walford.
Monty Walford, 960 McCormick, Shreveport, 71104. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
council members, Mr. Mayor, you all, well, some of the new ones may not know, but I get a little passionate about the Shreveport airports and the Shreveport Airport Authority, and I tend to complain when things are wrong. Councilman Green knows that goes back a lot of years. But today, I want to thank the mayor because he has an appointment for the airport authority that I can't think of anyone that could have been better. The authority is broken, and I think putting Raymond Alley on there with his abilities, his military leadership skills, is going to be a real step in the right direction. So I want to thank the mayor and ask you to please confirm Raymond Albee. Thank you.
George Carroll.
Good afternoon, Chairman, council members, Mayor. My name is George Carroll. My address is 2189 North Cross Drive in Shreveport, 71107. I am currently the president of the Experimental Aircraft Association of the Downtown Shreveport. We are a 501c3. We've been there 30, 40 years. We are a charter member of the national organization, which collectively, we are about 200,000 members worldwide. Our current roster at our chapter is about 60 people. Our role, scope, and mission is to provide aviation educational opportunities to the people, to the public. Most of these are usually children or young people. This is accomplished through our Young Eagles flights, historic aircraft flight experiences, fly-ins, providing free support at our local air shows and city-sponsored events. The list of events that we have done in the past over the years, Young Eagles, we have supplied almost 1,000 free rides to young people between the ages of 8 and 18. And we don't get any money from the city, from the government. The pilots pay for the fuel, the gas, the oil, everything out of their pocket, and they're always so happy to do that. Many of these flights have directly contributed to several of these young people going on to become commercial military pilots. In fact, a number of our astronauts got their first flight in a Young Eagles flight before they made that decision to pursue that career. Through our numerous flight experiences, we also provide flight experiences in things like the B-17, the B-24, the Ford Tri-Motor, P-51 Mustang. Through the years, we have provided almost 2,000 people the opportunity to fly in these historic aircraft. We've played host to the Tuskegee Airmen. That was a real honor. We got to play host to Colonel Richard Cole. He was Jimmy Doolittle's co-pilot in World War II. We hosted the Chosin Volunteers. We've also here for these were all people that were here for the Independence Bowl that the city is always heavily involved with. This last year, we hosted something very extraordinary. It was the first responders training for EMT, fire department, police, anybody who might show up at a crash. As far as we know, this is the first time in the country that an EAA has extended this type of training to our first responders. And they loved it. They've already asked us to do it again.
Student, your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. We feel that Raymond Albee would be a positive influence on our airport and hope that he will be approved for that position. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll. Erlene Joyner.
Well, I'm almost deaf, so I'm going to talk very loud. In fact, let me give you the definition of what your head of LSU, Willis Knighton, and how they're training your doctors to tell when you are bipolar. My doctor, Broussard, I complained, and he locked me up, and my neighbor died, and he went on vacation for 10 days after I complained that every federal and state right had been broken by Natchitoches. He called security. He said, so finally I said, Dr. Broussard, exactly how do you determine that? You speak loud, you speak fast, and you speak to everybody. Now, this was where he locked me up. And I said, I'm sorry, is that it? I said, do you know I'm deaf? That didn't work. I said, I worked 30 years at the phone company, and that's going to hurt your hearing. And then I worked 3 years at the hospital, and then I've been retired 26, taking care of a dying man. And then I said, well, as far as talking to everybody, I'm the friendliest person in the world. I'll give you a shirt off my back. I'm going to talk to you and make sure you got $1 in the Walmart line if you need a coat. Next thing come, I said, Dr. Broussard, let me tell you this. If I didn't work my butt off and I didn't use my hands and I didn't use my feet and I didn't use every part of my body, they'd have had somebody in my seat pretty quick. And I educated my kids at LSU, and I paid every penny. And I bought houses for them, and I bought cars. And my husband, when we left Shreveport, we married here in 1964. He was the area manager of the Shreveport Post Office. We have lived in Campty area, Black Lake, 30 years. But Shreveport has been our home for 60 years. God will give each person a gift. He says that. I asked God for a voice to sing. I love singing. He didn't give me that. He gave me one to make a living for my kids. But I'm here. He has returned me here. Do you see my face? Would you like to know what happened? I was on my way back. I heard where that Tyler boy was being railroaded. I called the courthouse to find where they're having the hearing. Channel 3, yesterday, I called them for 3 months as I came back. They didn't show that clip of that boy running and that boy having blood up to here saying, "Sit with me, sit with me." Now, why do y'all think
Ms.
you
Joyner?
cannot have an
Ms.
officer?
Joyner.
And I'm sorry I get excited.
Your time is up.
Well, anyway,
Ms.
I
Joyner,
came to talk about the ordinance because I wanted to go to Commerce Street. I didn't have any idea what y'all were going to be speaking of, but God did, because I
Joyner.
rushed from the doctor.
Thank you. That concludes public comments. That's okay.
But I'm actually here to volunteer.
It's okay.
We have the following executive appointment to consider today. Shreveport Airport Authority, Raymond Atlee.
So moved.
It has been moved by Councilman Butcher, second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
There are no items under the consent agenda for introductions to be adopted today. Ms. White, would you proceed with regular agenda legislation?
Resolution 166 of 2021, a resolution in support of and establishing a tax increment financing district, a proposed public improvement district wholly within the city limits of the city of Shreveport. And this is postponed until November 14th. Resolution 125, acknowledging that the City Council has reviewed the 2022 internal municipal water pollution prevention report concerning the North Regional and Lucas wastewater plants.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Jackson,
Second.
second by Councilman Butcher. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Resolution 126, authorizing the donation surplus property, specifically retiring one police K-9 Carroll. And
So-
this is a motion to withdraw.
So moved to withdraw.
Moved by Councilman Butcher, second by Councilman Jackson to withdraw. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to thank Cairo and his partner for his service. I know he's deceased now, but thank you for your service to Shreveport.
Any other questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Resolution 127, authorizing the donation surplus property retiring one police K-9 Dice.
Moved by Councilman Teleferro. Second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Resolution 128, authorizing the donation surplus property retiring one police K-9 Gus.
Moved by Councilman Teleferro.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bucci. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Resolution 129, authorizing the donation of surplus property retiring one K-9 Sajak.
Moved by Councilman Teleferro. Second by Councilman Jackson. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Resolution 130, authorizing the donation of surplus property retiring one police K-9.
Moved by Councilman Teleferro, second by Councilman Brooks. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Resolution 131, authorizing the acceptance of the donation of the Lake Shreve Estates water system.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Bucci. Second by Councilman Teleferro. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
Motion passes with 7.
Thank you. Ms. White, would you proceed with the introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to November 14, 2023?
Resolution 132, authorizing a one-year contract between the City of Shreveport and the Crew of Gemini relative to Mardi Gras parades. Resolution 133, authorizing a one-year contract between the City of Shreveport and the Crew of Centaur relative to Mardi Gras parades.
Are there any questions on any of these items? Motion by Councilman Jackson, second by Councilwoman Bowman. These items have been introduced. Ms. White, would you proceed with introduction of ordinance not to be adopted prior to November 14, 2023?
Yes. Mr. Chair, MPC has requested that ordinance number 143 be removed from the agenda. If there is no objection, it will not be read so that it is not introduced.
All right.
Ordinance 141, amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2023 Capital Projects Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein. Ordinance 142, amending the City of Shreveport, Louisiana 2023 Capital Projects Fund budget, appropriating the funds authorized herein. Ordinance 144, closing and abandoning the southerly portion of the public dedication for the cul-de-sac at the end of King Place. And this is not to be adopted prior to public hearing on November 14th. Ordinance 145 to amend Chapter 58, Article 2 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to noise. Ordinance 146, zoning case number 23-172-C, an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located south side of East 79th Street, approximately 145 degrees west of Fairfield Avenue, from R-1-5 single-family residential zoning district to R-2 multifamily residential zoning district.
Moved by Councilman Jackson, second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, these items have been introduced. Ms. White, would you proceed with ordinance on second reading and final passage?
Yes, sir. Ordinance 110 to amend Chapter 58, Article 2 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to noise. And need 2/3 votes to overturn it.
So a yes vote is, and a no vote is,
Speak up so everybody else can hear. I can't hear you, Mike. Thank you.
Yes vote is to overturn, and a no vote will uphold the veto. And if you overturn by a yes vote, you need 5 members to overturn it.
Is there a motion? Moved by Councilman Brooks.
If it doesn't get on the floor, then the veto holds, right? Is that correct? If there's not a second on this motion, then the veto is upheld.
There has to be action taken on the item.
Second.
Has been moved by Councilman Brooks and second by Councilman Butcher. Are there any questions or comments? If not, push the button.
So voting
I mean,
no,
no oppose the veto.
veto. I got you.
no oppose the veto.
I thought yes, uphold. No.
If you vote yes, then you will adopt the legislation.
Okay.
If you vote no, the veto is over.
Can you repeat that?
If you vote yes, you need 5 members to overturn the veto. But if you vote no, you're upholding his veto because you're defeating. The motion is to adopt. And if you want to adopt, you need 5 members to overturn it for it to go into effect. And if you do not want to adopt, then you vote no.
So the vote is 6-1.
Thank you.
The same thing for the next one.
You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Ordinance 111, amending the, 111, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Shreveport to add an Article 12 to Chapter 78 relative to noise measurement procedures. And you need 2/3 vote.
Motion by the chair, second by Councilman Brooks.
I have a question, though.
Yes, sir.
The procedure didn't come from council, so can that be vetoed by the mayor if that did not come from council procedurally?
I'm not sure what you're asking. What are you saying?
So that legislation was something that was put on by the administration.
Correct.
Can it still be vetoed by the administration? Because it wasn't changed by council, is my question.
It can still be, you're asking if what's on the books right now can be vetoed by the administration?
Yes,
Yes,
if it
it
was
can.
their legislation.
Yes, it can be vetoed. Anything that's on the agenda can be vetoed by the mayor.
Okay.
So why veto the enforcement?
May I speak, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Ordinance 111 was integrated with ordinance number 110, and therefore it wouldn't make any sense without ordinance 110.
So with the current legislation that you have right now with the noise ordinance, who enforces it? Do you still have to have are we still utilizing SPD or the noise management person or whatever it was that was called in the legislation?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So SPD can enforce it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. With discretion?
Yes, ma'am.
Second.
Any other questions?
So the yes vote means to,
Overturn.
The yes vote means to,
Overturn the veto.
okay. So we don't need this enforcement, Mr. Mayor, are you all saying we don't need 111 for enforcement with what we have on the books?
No, sir, because it was, ordinance number 111 was drafted with ordinance 110 in mind, therefore it doesn't make any sense. So I vetoed both of them to go back to the other ordinance until the council passes a different ordinance on noise.
Okay.
So, just to be clear, the existing ordinance that's been in place has enforcement provisions within it. If we were to vote for this, then it would mess everything up with the way it is. Is that, because it's specific to 110?
If I may speak, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so in order for us not to interfere with what's on the book, then we need to vote against this so that it'll be back to normal the way it has been all the time. Is that the understanding, Mr. Mayor?
That is my understanding, and that's my intent, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
but I thought that the reason for doing 111 was because you did not have enforcement in the original ordinance.
No, ma'am, that's not my understanding.
Where's the city attorney? Because that's how I believe I recalled him explaining it. So if it's different, just tell me that that's not correct, or I just misunderstood what you said. Because what was Wes White's position?
Noise enforcement officer.
So he was the noise enforcement officer, and he was the noise enforcement officer for the current ordinance that is on the books, because that's what the legislation called for, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we had to do 111 to give police that level of enforcement too, no?
The delegation of enforcement ability to SPD was in 110, not in 111. 111 is about the measurement, the processes for measurement of noise. Because those provisions already exist in the current ordinance, if you pass 111 without having passed 110, it will be redundant in the code. There will be, those provisions will exist in Chapter 58 and in 57, and there are internal references within 111 that point to things that did not pass. So it would be redundant, confusing, and disjointed if you pass 111 without having passed 110.
So do you still have a noise enforcement officer with 58?
There is still a noise enforcement officer under the old procedures, but that position pertains mostly to noise management plans. And again, that was the stuff that was designed for business activities that generate a lot of noise, like, for instance, fracking, excavation, and oil exploration activities. That's an engineering position. It is not a position for the policing of, clubs and bars and those sorts of things. However, there is discretion for SPD to enforce noise under the plainly audible standard under 5829 and 5830 that is already in Chapter 58.
So he does not have any other ability as far as music in the entertainment district or anywhere else, only when it comes to the business of fracking or businesses like that for the noise enforcement officer?
The noise enforcement officer could be used on any business that is designated as a significant noise generator.
Okay.
So Mr. Wes Weiss's services could be called upon to be used for a great many things. If he were here today, he would tell you that he would rather stay in the engineering lane. But in theory, any significant noise generating business,
He has the ability to enforce.
That is correct.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nothing else? Push the button.
Motion fails. The 7.
Ordinance 119, amending the 2023 capital improvements budget.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Butcher. Second by Councilwoman Bowman. Are there any questions or comments? If not, would you be kind enough to push the button?
The motion passes with 7.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, would you come forward, please? You have item 14B, additional communications from council members. Would you read the statement and advise us as to what you're doing?
Yes, Mr. Chair. As you all know, the position of Clerk of Council has been vacant since September 13, 2023. Pursuant to Resolution 92 of 2020, in the absence of the Clerk of Council, the Chief Deputy Clerk of Council shall perform the duties of the Clerk of Council. Recognizing this, since September 13, the Chief Deputy Clerk of Council, Latanya Bogan, has been performing the duties of the Clerk of Council. The Chair of the Council is the supervisor of all council employees pursuant to City Council Rules of Procedure 2.3, and he has communicated with each member of the council concerning these matters. In an abundance of caution and to follow the procedures laid out in the charter and in the rules of procedure of the City Council should now move that Latanya Bogan be recognized as interim Clerk of Council, that she continue to perform the duties of the Clerk of Council, and that so long as she serves in the role of interim Clerk of Council, she receive the amount of compensation assigned to the Clerk of Council at the time the position became vacant.
Thank you. At this time, I'd move to make a motion that what he just said, that we would vote on it. Moved by Chair, second by Councilman Jackson. Are there any questions or comments? Councilman Butcher?
No questions.
All right. Anyone else? If not, push the button.
Oops. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I will have a comment after we've already voted on this. I appreciate your openness and you working with the city attorney to solve this. We did this very professionally, and I appreciate us getting this taken care of and Ms. Bogan getting recognized and put into that position. So thanks to the city attorney and to you for doing this the right way. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Congratulations. Yeah. Madam Clerk, is there any table legislation to be removed from the table today?
No, sir.
We have no property standards or AVO appeals to consider today. We have no MBC or ZBA of cases to consider today. Are there any other appeals, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Are there reports from officers, boards, committees? Madam Clerk, is there a clerk's report?
The following letter of appointment was received from the mayor's office on October 19, 2023, and is subject for confirmation on November 14, 2023. Downtown Development Authority, Mr. Jason Cram.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have any other additional communications?
I do not, Mr. Chairman.
Does any council member have any additional communications? I would like to commend all of you for your purple, and y'all look real nice. Y'all look so
Mr. Chair.
look so happy today. Yes.
Is Chief still in the building?
Thank you, Larry. Oh, there he is. You look so lovely today.
Hey, Chief, how you doing? Sorry I didn't do this at the beginning of the meeting, Mr. Chair, but there's an issue that I believe that affects all of us, and that's dealing with illegal dumping. We've gotten a lot of calls, and for the most part, it's really not from the people that live within that community. We believe it's outside people coming in, dumping, and they're just driving off. So we wanted to know the process of possibly getting cameras in these areas that are where illegal dumping is taking place, so we can start taking some action and holding some people accountable. Can you explain if there is a process or how each council members can go about working with you to try to get those things set up?
There is a process. Quite some time ago, last year, I think Councilman Taylor, y'all provided us with some equipment to catch illegal dumpers, and that equipment is still functioning. We still use it today. The process is if someone finds an illegal dump site, either you can call the regular 7300 number and report that to police, and that report will be sent to the officers that actually do the investigation, or else you can call the Community-Oriented Policing Bureau's office at 673-6950 and report it to them directly, and they will begin the investigation. But we do have the equipment that is still functional, and it's still out being used as we speak today at different locations around town.
So to piggyback, when you say an investigation, do you want to first determine if it's worthy of a camera? Like, what are we investigating? Can we just request a camera because we know it's a problematic site, or does your office need to research and determine that for yourself?
We need to go out and look at the location and find a suitable place to, install the equipment. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. In the absence of us or somebody actually seeing someone doing something, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we can work from there and either summons or get an affidavit for an arrest warrant. But either way, it's going to get to the right people. The regular 7300 number, and ask for an officer to come, and they'll make a report, and that will be sent to the investigating officers to begin their investigation, or else call the Community-Oriented Policing Bureau at 673-6950 and report it directly to them. Either way, it'll get to the right person.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other communication from any council member?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Chief, if a citizen calls into the COP, who generates the report? Who generates the report number, since it's not going through the traditional CAD system? In other words, when we call in the 7300.
One of the community liaison officers will do it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they'll just call in and get a report number, same way with, okay.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure the public's aware that, it's going to go into the system.
Absolutely.
Even though they call the community-oriented policing.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And because originally that's where the Little Czar office was, I guess, if that's the appropriate word to use, but it's still they're being investigated by that bureau, so that's where it's going to end up either way.
Chief, can you tell us where we are with the trailer cams?
Do what now?
The trailer cams.
Yes, the funding is available, and I think at one time when I appeared, I told y'all who the 3 bids we had gotten, who was the lower bid, and I think Guardian it was, if my memory serves me correctly. So my budget person is in the process of making that happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chief, how many will we get?
2, I think 2.
2?
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any other communication? Thank you, Chief.
Not for that, Chief. Is Chief Reese?
I got my purple on too, by the way, just like the rest of
Ask
you.
him to come up, too.
Chief
Reese.
Reese.
Hey, Chief, I just kind of wanted to go over with the public what we talked about yesterday with Station 20.
Okay.
And kind of where we are, and that our hands are kind of tied with it. So, I mean, I know there's some things that you really can't discuss, but We do know that the grass got cut. That was a big problem that I hope we can keep up with, but kind of tell us where we are, because I'm getting a lot of calls on that.
Sure. So Fire Station 20 still is shut down. The fire engine, which is the one that carries the water, is stationed at the port. The battalion chief that is over that area and that was housed at that station is now at Station 22 on Southern Loop. And right now we're doing some evaluations to see if that ladder truck, truck 20, is going to be moved to Southern Loop also. The CAD system is what recommends the fire truck for a certain call, and the distance in which engine 20 is now is not being recommended for most of the homes that are coming out. So we're using fire station number 3 as the backup, which is right there on East 70th. Also station 22 on Southern Loop and station 19 on Ellaby Road. But that CAD system, when they call in the 911, recommends the closest unit, and that is what pretty much protects us from liability. And that's how those calls are being routed.
Is there anything that we can do for a temporary fix to bring the pump a little bit closer to town, which is the engine, to bring it a little bit closer to town? Mr. Dark, is there anything we can do? I mean, I know that even right next door to Station 20, which I don't know if you'd want to put them there or not, but there is a place that has some office space and bay area before it gets to be cold, because those trucks cannot sit out in temperatures usually about under 40 because they get too cold because they're diesel and all that, and crank can be regular. But my concern is what station, I mean, from what I'm understanding, Station 20's call volume has gone down almost 70%. And I know not our number one priority, but one of our priorities with that fire station is to cover the port. So it's kind of a fine line. If you take it to 19, that's too far. If you have it all the way down there, then it's too far, in my opinion, for South Broadmoor, Town South, those areas. So, I mean, is there a fix? Because this doesn't look like this is going to be a very short process.
So we are working with the port, Mr. Eric England also, and receiving as much information as we can with them until we make those grounds safe right there at Florida Lucas and Highway 1. The ideal setup would be to put a temporary fire station right there on that property. But until we get those, until the ground is considered safe, we're kind of stuck with what we have right now. Another option, which I have a meeting with Caddo Fire District 5 on another issue, would be maybe moving it to Leonard Road. That was one of the very first options that we had, but it's having the adequate amount of room to house, for those guys to be able to sleep there. And also, they didn't have any space in their bay, so we were facing the same situation where we were leaving them outside. So we are asking for rush orders on as much as we can get.
I'm just curious that the little development right next to it, and I honestly just thought about this. I know there's 2 or 3 spots available there. Maybe we could talk to him and see if that could be suitable.
I will explore that option. We've had some issues with it next door, so
I know.
They may not be willing to work with us.
I just was thinking, I mean, because they had to do a phase 1 on it before they built the building, so we know that that's not the same impact of the property that we own, or that the port owns. So, okay, I wanted to kind of get that out there, and you and I talked about this, so I didn't spring this on you, but I wanted the public to hear it from you.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Can you give me an update on the rescue boats?
Good question.
Waiting on the email. So, of course, they approved that rescue boat. And so, for everyone's knowledge, the company called and said that they can't build that boat for the amount that they accepted the PO for. That was a GSA contract. And this is the same thing y'all ran into, I think, with the
garbage
sanitation.
trucks.
Yes. So as soon as we
There's
receive that
precedent
email,
set.
we'll be forwarding it to you and also to the city attorney. He said he has become quite the expert on that. So we will let him, kind of take that. But as of right now, we don't have a boat, and they never even started on it, which explains why they didn't return my calls for about 2 months. So they were trying to figure that out, how they were going to tell me.
So Attorney Edwards, what letters are we sending to them to honor what they said that they were going to do? Or have we sent any letters to them?
Yeah, for the record, I have not received the email from the boat company.
Okay.
Chief Skip is waiting on that email. He talked to him last week, at the end of last week, and asked if they put that in writing, and whether or not they send that by email or they mail it to us. We'll ask them by the end of this week where they are as far as getting that correspondence to us.
Yes, and for the record, I want to be very clear, I did not represent in any way that I was an expert in this field. What I did say is that by the time all this is over, I might be one, because we are going through this process several times, and, you know, there's explanations for why the price of things changes. However, once you've been entered into a GSA contract, that's something you should honor. That's the position that we've taken in the bucket truck situation. That's the position that will be taken here. Unfortunately, we've got some template letters. We've got some, this track has been hoed already. So we've got an idea of some of the things that we can say, some of the processes we can approach, but we're going to, once we get that initial letter, we're going to respond appropriately, and we'll pursue all of the potential resolutions. We're going to reach out to our other partners, because there are some other people that we can talk to about this, and we'll make sure that we come up with the best solution that we can come up with.
Councilman Butcher, well, we gonna tell them that we're not paying any more money?
That's exactly
They gonna
right.
honor
We
their
did that with the
contract.
garbage truck.
They did that with the garbage trucks for the previous administration, so we're not paying any more money. They need to honor their contract.
Absolutely,
All right, thank you.
crystal clear.
Chief, you still using that edge you want?
Not today, it's a little dry today, no sir, not today.
Councilwoman Bowman wanted, is that Shelley? Is Shelley in? She's not here. Yes, yes, she is. Okay.
Ms. Regal, I
afternoon.
had spoke with you. Good afternoon. For the record, I know they had some flooding concerns at the new fire station on Greenwood Road. Can you update us exactly what's going on?
We did, during this past year, during the heavy rains, I feel like I'm blasting y'all. We did have some flooding issues there. We brought our civil engineer back out. He looked at it. He proposed a fix. We have done that. We had our last major rain. He was not quite complete. They built a diversion wall and needed to clean out all of our surface drains. They did all of that, and we have not had a heavy rain since. So we're gonna see, he's got some other fixes if that does not work, but we feel like it's going to.
Thank you so much, and just please update me so I can update the firemen there, because they
Okay.
did have some concerns.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Let Gary know where we stand. All right, okay. Executive session, there are none. If there's nothing else to come before this body, we stand adjourned.